Welcome to this BB Education cutting tutorial. Today's tutorial is focusing on a long layered shape utilizing disconnection to give a heightened face frame effect whilst maintaining the integrity of the outline. Our mapping section works off a center profile section. It then works into two circular sections working from the apex to a low occipital bone position. The lower you place this particular section, the more impact the layers will have on the length. We then have two sections at the front, working quite wide to the recession of the hairline. These sections are placed relatively far back to the apex section. We then have two small sections at each side indicating our disconnected zone that we're going to have as part of our Wolfcut. The sections you can see here, the circular sections, help us to protect the length and not lose the integrity. Again, the lower we place this, the more impact the layer will have on the overall effect. So the lower you go, the more thin the length will look, the higher, the thicker. So firstly, we take two little diagonal sections, giving us a little triangle in the middle. We're going to be using a slicing method using the closing part of our scissors. So again, we use the tension, we pull the tension tight, we choose our length, and we start to scratch into the surface of the hair with almost a scooping motion. This gives us a soft, shattered outline. We then separate the V into two. This will give us a guideline for each side. As we work through, we take a small section parallel to the previous section and over direct it off its own base onto the base of the previously cut section. So you're pulling it slightly into the middle, using the guide and slicing it. This will give a longer length. This means all our sections are going to gradually increase in length towards the corner of the hairline, the recession. So we take section 3, that goes into section 2, not onto 1. So we don't want it to too rapidly increase. We don't want it to be really contrasting. We want quite a slow increase in length, not a rapid one. So we go back onto the previous section to achieve this. It's a good idea to take this section down and just to check that you're happy with the length. At this point you can do a small amount of point cutting if you wanted to, but you'll notice the outline here is very shattered and very soft looking. That is exactly why we're using this method. It creates a much more lived in effect. And as we start the other side, we repeat exactly the same process, using the closing part of our scissors, taking section 2 onto 1, 3 onto 2, 4 onto 3, giving us a slow increase of length, giving us a concave shape with our fringe. Now as we take our next section, we take it with a diagonal section in the same way we did the first one. We leave the rest of the hair out and neatly grip it out the way. Now as we take section 2, we groom 1 with a higher elevation, lifting it off its own base. We knit these two together with a much higher elevation and use a point cutting method to join them together. So as we take our final section, we elevate even higher. So each section is lifted a little bit higher each time. Now, as we're moving on, we're going to remove the braided section. We're going to take a diagonal back section combining the braided section and the fringe. This gives us a guideline on knowing how to create our line. Now this will be cut on a 0 elevation with high tension and sliced. So what does that mean? It means that the fact the elevation is quite low will still help us to retain some strength in the shape, even though we are slicing in this manner. This is because the lower the elevation, the stronger the outline. Now we're creating length with each section again. So we're over directing each section slightly forward, meaning the section behind is slightly longer. This gives us the feeling of the disconnected face frame associated with a Wolfcut or some Shag haircuts. We repeat this on both sides, releasing the braided section, taking a smaller diagonal back section, starting to slice the sections in the same manner as we did the fringe, but utilising a low elevation to retain some strength in the external shape. Because if we didn't have any strength, we would have no definition. So if you remove all the weight, you also remove the definition from the shape. So here we have the starting point of our result. We're going to check the balance. It's really important to ensure the balance is correct before moving on. Now as we take down the next section, we're going to apply some elevation, but not as much as when we did the fringe section. We now turn our attention to our curved sections, initially taking a flat section from the front. We then take a curved section running parallel to the existing section line. So this means you're almost just making the section you've got slightly smaller whilst maintaining the same shape. So we have a curved section at the back, whilst at the front the section is flat. We repeat this on both sides. So our section will run all the way around the head shape in a curved manner but remain flat at the front. To begin this process, we take two small pieces from each section at the front in a similar way to how we cut the fringe. We lift the elevation, making sure the elevation is higher than the base of the section. If it's lower than the base, that's not a problem. It just means the disconnection is more obvious. So if you are looking for a more seamless blend to your layer, ensure the elevation is slightly higher than the base. So section 1 is cut flat, but section 2 is not cut flat. You'll notice my fingers are slightly higher, so I'm almost angling very slightly away or in a concave manner. This ensures that the blend is really seamless. Because the cutting line is switched from triangle instead of flat, this will ensure a more softer, seamless blend as it connects into the underneath. Remember, essentially, we're utilising practical disconnection here. So as we elevate the section, you can see there is a lift. We're not just maintaining a flat line. What this will also do, as we can continue working on the other side, is as the veil falls, it falls working parallel in its shape to the front face frame that we've already placed. So all our sections are pulled directly up, a slight amount of over direction, and they're cut short to long. Once we've completed both sides, working short at the front, long at the back, we use the two corners behind the ear as guides, and we start to connect a flat line between both sides. So what that means is we're pulling the sections directly up, utilising guidelines from a radial section, connecting them together with slicing and point cutting to ensure that the back section has a flat line. This will give a more appropriate feel to the layered shape. It'll make the layers look slightly shorter on the profile section, getting longer towards the radial section in a similar way to most layered shapes we currently work with long hair. What we're working to achieve here is simple, a layering technique that is short at the front but maintains a flat feel at the back. This will mirror the shape we're creating. We'll bring all the subsequent sections down in the same way, working flat at the back but short to long from the front to the back. Once completed one side, you can see the effect of how it blends seamlessly into the existing external shape. Once one side's complete, we're going to move on to the next side. Once again, abandoning the flat line and working with a diagonal section, maintaining cleanliness of sections, ensuring we are very clear on where our guide is and where it is appropriate to be moving the sections. You can see here how section 2 is being pulled forward onto the base of section 1. This also ensures that the front showing more layers, really helps to add texture and a loose feeling to this face framed haircut. Now we come to the section behind the ear. We release this section and groom down to its natural fall. We're going to work with a very low elevation and slice here. We're going to be slicing short into long. This gives us a rapid increase of length, but let's just replay that again. We groom the sections low. That's keeping the elevation low, which is keeping the definition and the outline at its maximum. We then use the middle part of our scissor again, the closing part, and we glide the scissor seamlessly down the hair. This ensures that we get a rapid increase from the shorter line to the longer point or the length. We repeat this on both sides. I'm going to start in the front, taking a large profile section, and I'm going to pull the section forward and slice from a short internal point, allowing my scissors to close as it reaches the external. This is creating short to long pieces, helping to deflate the shape, helping us to create a more defined feel to the external lengths. We also combine this with point cutting to really create a soft, lived-in feel. We repeat this working all the way through the external lengths on both sides. This is a really important technique, and it's the first technique I tend to go for. I tend to go to remove density first before anything else, but you can see the difference straight away. Then lifting the hair very, very slightly, we work with a parallel point cut. The more elevation that is applied when parallel point cutting, the less it affects the line and the more it affects the internal shape. An interesting point is, how do you know when you've finished? Quite often for me, when the haircut starts to look good without any product in it, that is when I feel it's finished. If it's easy to create the shape without product, then you're done. And it's time to put the scissors down and it's time to style. Here we are, just making a final assessment of our work and reassessing our shape. This ends today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching with us today. We really hope you've enjoyed our take on a dishevelled, Billie Eilish inspired Shag haircut. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.